Let's get into the main event for Saturday from Las Vegas. David Benavidez and David Morrell. Benavidez, a guy always hard to keep off with his nonstop pressure. Uh, really good fight, impressive performance by Benavidez. But usually Benavidez takes a round or two to get going, but not on Saturday night. He didn't waste any time. He started fast, and he did not relent over 12 rounds. I thought Morrell definitely had his moments throughout. Landed some big counters. He almost dropped Benavidez. I think that was at the end of round 4, where he buckled him with a hook. And then he got credited with a questionable knockdown in round 11. But overall, David Benavidez, just too much. Just relentless attack, punishing body work, end to the head. Um, there was the point deducted in the 11th round, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Benavidez really impressed me with his defense as well, not just his offensive ability and his chin. Just overall, extremely impressive performance. What did you think of the fight, and what did you make of David Benavidez?
Well, I think you just gave a pretty impressive performance right there. Uh, in some ways too impressive. You're stealing my thunder. You can't do that if you're going to be my partner. Can't do that. Can't do that. Even if you do have that beautiful, friendly smile, and I that I love. Look, I think to get really I mean, there's a lot and not a lot to cover because it is what it is. I mean, it was what I think, like I said, when I'm wrong, I was wrong with Figueroa. I say it. I was right on this one. I picked. If you watch the fight plan, I gave my pick. I wouldn't give it to on our show because I wanted to inspire people to watch the fight plan. So on the fight plan, and I hope Sam puts it up a clip. I asked you to talk to Sam, see if we can get a clip of that up where I picked it. I also want to get a little clip. I'm sure Sam will do this later on where we can show the controversial knockdown. I didn't think it was a knockdown in the 11th round, as you said, too. We can show that and I can walk us through it. But before we get to that, I picked Benavidez very simply. I said, I'm going with him. I thought it was going to be a good fight, a tough fight to pick, but I didn't think Benavidez was going to get outworked. He wasn't going to lose a decision. If he lost, he was going to get knocked out or hurt badly and enough to take away the ability to win a decision. But when I made my pick, I said, Benavidez, if this fight goes the distance, for the most part, Benavidez is winning. Again, he's not getting out. He's too busy. His advantage is he's got faster hands. He's got more experience in the pros. That's going to count in the pros, even though the other guy had great amateur experience. And by the way, the other guy did a great job. Morrell did a great job. He behaved like a champion, too. He fought like one, but he behaved like one, too. They both did. They both deserve credit for that. But Benavidez, faster hands, busier. His output of punch numbers is tremendous. And his dedication to the body, they both went to the body, but his dedication to the body is tremendous. And his relentless pressure is a big factor. Again, I did not think Morrell had the ability with his style, his mindset. He's a little more conservative. He's a little bit more, if you want to say cerebral. I don't know. I'm taking nothing away from Benavidez. But if you want to put it that way, he's a little more thoughtful. He's a little more contained. He's looking to counterpunch. He's looking to be aggressive and be the boss in a much more controlled way. Benavidez does it at a higher ratio, at a higher speed, at a higher amount. You know, if Morrell's going to throw 5 punches, Benavidez is throwing 12. He's going to outwork him. I thought maybe there's a chance where Morrell, being a good puncher, being a more concise guy, could maybe catch him in between a shot, maybe catch him coming in and hurt him with a counterpunch, which he did, as you said, in the 4th round with that hook. I thought that Anytime a southpaw is fighting an orthodox fighter, the right hook of the southpaw is the most dangerous weapon because you're not used to seeing it come from that peripheral, from that side. You're not used to seeing it. It's a sneaky punch, especially the counter. It's a dangerous punch. I didn't think Morrell, for what it's worth, used it enough. It's that important a punch and dangerous as the southpaw. He used it that time in the fourth round you're talking about where he nailed him the right hook and he bungled his legs. It was at the end of the round, but it caught him and bungled his legs a little bit. I'll say another thing. Louis the Cubans, the manager, one of the people involved that's done a great job with Benavidez, when they
With
had
Morrell.
with Morrell, I'm sorry, but when they had the contentious and all weigh-ins nowadays it seems like are contentious, whatever. Sometimes fake, sometimes real. This one was real. When they had the contentious weigh-in, and Benavidez and Morrell, and after Benavidez was sitting down, and it was either the weigh-in or the press conference. It doesn't matter. And Louis the Cubans, who's a great boxing guy, great boxer, and great at bringing Cubans. He brought so many Cubans over from Cuba over the years that have become world champion. He's the king of doing that. So much so that the legend has it that Castro had a hit out on him, had a contract on him because Castro, of course, didn't want his boxes being taken away from Cuba. You know, he didn't care if they didn't get a chance to make money and fight pro. He was a boxing fan, and all he cared about was they were going to win Olympic gold medals for his country. So Louis started, doing what they do at press conference. He started yapping and yelling a little bit at Morrell and saying that
At
he was going to
Benavidez.
at Benavidez. I'm sorry. He started yelling at Benavidez. Thank you, bud. Thank God you're here. And he started yelling at Benavidez and saying, look, we're going to find out what kind of chin you have. And I'm telling you right now, if you can take my guy's punch, Morrell's punch, you got a better chin than I think, and I know nothing about boxing, which of course he knows a lot about boxing. But he was making a point. He was so sure that Benavidez didn't have that kind of chin. Soon as he got hit that right hook, what did I say during the live streaming we did? I said, well, Lou, you might have found out what you didn't want to find out. Benavidez has a good chin. he has a good chin because he just survived that punch. I know it was late in the round, but he survived that punch. It was a clean right hook. So that having been said, I thought it went the way that I thought it would go when I made my prediction. That Benavidez would outwork. He would get the geography he needed on the inside a little more than the other guy would get the geography he needed on the outside to score possible counterpunches, to set possible traps, to get. And to your point, you know what I think was a big deal? Was that Benavidez was not recklessly aggressive. Sometimes when you're aggressive and that's your thing, and that's how you make your living, it can work against you. You can be overly aggressive. He wasn't over. He was aggressive, like you said, where the defense was intact with his offense. He did it in a responsible way. He did it with what I talk about. He was effectively aggressive, not recklessly aggressive. I think Morrell needed to win this fight. He needed Benavidez to be a little reckless with his aggression, and he wasn't. And I had one other thing that I appreciated, that I saw, and I hadn't really realized that Benavidez would be able to do this. And it was a thing where I thought that the guy placing the shots, being more educated with his punches would be Morrell. Again, full disclosure, I did think that he might get outworked, but he might be better at placing accurate shots. I was wrong. Benavidez showed me a capacity I didn't know he had, where he could be really, really busy, really, really aggressive, and at the same time place shots, be really good. Like usually the guy throwing less punches is good. He could also be good at placing. Wow. The way he went over and placed a right to the body, went to the left, placed the left to the body, placed the uppercut. He found a home for the uppercut, Benavidez said. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He kept at it all night because Morrell didn't come up with a way of avoiding it. So he stayed. They both got hit with uppercuts. But for the most part, Benavidez had a party with the uppercut. But again, his ability to get the best of both worlds, to not only be the busier guy, but be the guy who was throwing the more better placed, educated, accurate punches. I don't see a lot of guys do that. Usually when a guy's a real busy guy, he's spray painting. You know what I mean? He's spray painting the punches. And they're not always all accurate, but there's a lot of them. This guy, Benavidez, and I think that's why he won, was able to do both. He threw a lot, but at the same time, instead of spray painting, he was using a brush. He was being Michelangelo at the same time as being a graffiti artist. That ain't easy, to mix being a graffiti artist and Michelangelo or Picasso, whatever you want to say.
Going back to what you said with Louis the Cubist, I thought right away, as soon as I saw that clip before the fight you're talking about, you don't want to wake up the monster. And it felt like he might have woke him up a little bit with that. But to your point, I was going to ask you, you're talking about the placing of punches. I was just so impressed with the way he creates the openings to land and place those punches, as you're saying, right? He's pulling the opponent's hands down. He's chopping down on punches. Just showed his smarts with his nastiness, the
100%.
combination. And in that regard, it reminded me of Arthur Beterbiev. And now with the win, he is in line to take on the winner of Beterbiev and
Let me
Bivol.
jump in. You brought up a beautiful point, how he pulled his hand down. He used his left hand to pull down the left hand of Morrell and then hit him with the right hand as he did it. I don't know if that's even allowed. I'm not saying he did anything dirty. He did it. It's up to the referee to say you can't do it. But I'm not sure that every referee would allow you to reach over, pull a guy's glove down. He did it a few times effectively, and then hit him after you brought the glove down, hit him with the right hand. Again, when Muhammad Ali used to stick his glove out to Joe Frazier and leave it out there, the referee would slap it down, bud. The referee would say, you can't leave your hand out there. You can't do that. Come on, Muhammad. Come on, stop that, Muhammad. Trying to measure the guy and set him up like your uncle would do when you were a kid, and he would hold your forehead, and you're trying to get to him, and you can't get to him because he's holding your forehead, and he's keeping you out of range. Ali would do that, and sometimes he'd get away. Sometimes the referee would slap his hand down. The referee did not stop Benavidez. And look, more power to him. It was a smart move, to your point. That was a smart, it shows you he's thinking, he's seeing. That's a smart move. Another thing that I tell you was a smart move was Morrell was keeping his hands up really good. And they both block really well. Both these guys, they block well. Benavidez did a lot of block. He might not always slip the shots, but he'll block a lot of shots. And he did a hell of a job doing that. But there were spots where there was no opening. Really, the traditional openings is you want to get to the chin. You want to go down the middle. And Benavidez split the guard with the right hand a couple times, the straight right hand down the middle of the guard of Morrell. But there was a lot of times when he had that peekaboo defense that there was nowhere to really get to the chin. which is where you try to get to. So what did he do? What did Benavidez do, bud? He aimed behind his ear. He drew the looping right hand behind his ear. And a lot of people might say, oh, he's not throwing it straight. You're supposed to throw it straight. You know, he's throwing it crooked. No, sometimes you're supposed to throw it crooked. There's more ways than one to skin a cat. There's more ways than one to hit a guy with a right hand. Sometimes it's got to be straight, traditional. Sometimes it's got to be a hook to get around the glove. And he did that. And to your point, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I would have forgot to mention it. To your point, he showed that ability to recognize and to do. And I don't think we think about that or thought about that with a guy who throws a lot of punches, who wins on aggression, and is called the Mexican Monster.